Three, two, one. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Failure Friday, where we talk to friends, clients, and sometimes strangers, in this case, a virtual friend, about how failure has shaped them as a professional in their personal life and how it's just pushed them forward and made them a doper person, how they've shown up in life. And today we have Dave Ball. Funny story. I only know Dave from Instagram, and I never really was sure of his first name. And I asked him because he signed up for the podcast under David, came in as Dave. And I go, which one do you want to go by? And he was like, most people call me Steve. So we're going to go with Dave for this. Dave is a home ownership advocate, by definition, a mortgage underwriter. But just like my profession, there's one of us on every corner. There's definitely something different about you, Dave. So why don't you just kind of take a moment and tell us how you got into your career choice and how you started delivering massive value on social media.
All right, so it's a interesting story how I got into the exciting world of mortgage guidelines. So I think like a lot of folks, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I graduated high school. So I was like, huh. Oh, so in about the 11th grade, I was like, college costs money, doesn't it? I think it does. And so I was like, man, I want to try to go somewhere for free. And so I was applying for scholarships. And so I got a full ride to Florida A&M in like at the 11th grade. But then my parents, so I lived in Maryland. And so my parents.
In the 11th grade?
Yeah. And so
damn.
My parents were like, hey, you should check out the school called the Naval Academy. It's right up down the street. It's like a half an hour away in Annapolis. I was like, military. I don't want nothing to do with that. And then so they had like this week. They had like this seminar where it was like you go there for a week to check out the school, and it was it was a week, so it was Monday through Friday. So I was like, I can have a week off of school if I just go visit this school. Okay, I'm in. And so I was like, it seems cool, but I got no interest in the military. But 12th grade, when it was a time to apply for schools and all this, for whatever reason, my boss of a guidance counselor never submitted my paperwork to Florida A&M. Like he had to like send something back to Florida A&M to get the scholarship taken care of, to get it finalized. So he never sent that paperwork off to Florida A&M.
Oh no!
And so like my only option was like, to go. So I only applied once I got into Florida A&M. I stopped really applying to schools. So I was like, it's free. And so my only other option was to go to the Naval Academy, which luckily I got into that too. And so I went to the Naval Academy. I still didn't know what I wanted to do. Got a degree in econ. So once you graduate from there, in order to pay, so it's free, I'm doing air quotes, you pay back your tuition by serving in the military. So I did 5 years in the military. I still didn't know what I wanted to do by that time. And so I knew I wanted to work with people, though. I was like, I like kind of hang with people. And so I was like, I want to get a job in logistics. And so I ended up getting a job in Memphis, working in the logistics department for Sears. And it was an interesting experience. I had that job for like 8 months. I was in I was doing like their transportation part. I can get into it if you want to, but I ended up quitting just because I got into the situation where I was almost going to punch one of my coworkers in the face.
What?
It was like my manager was like, hey, you can quit or get fired, one of those two. So I just quit. I was like, this is BS, but I'm not going to deal with this nonsense.
All right, Dave, pause. We're not just going to gloss over that. That's not going to happen. Okay, so I falsely, ignorantly assumed that when you said logistics, that means you're driving trucks.
Oh no! So I was managing the people that drive the truck. So like the drivers need to pick a route, and so I was setting up the routes for the people. So determining the routes, doing customer service, but just the planning. Like for any operational business where they're delivering products, like logistics is your biggest expense. You think trucks, gas, drivers, and all that. That's typically your biggest expense, like in an operational type business. So yeah, I was running that side of the house.
And how did you get into a fight with your manager?
All right. So I lived in Memphis, Tennessee, I worked across the border in Olive Branch, Mississippi. It's an area of everybody's got the stereotypes in Mississippi. Some of them are true, but it's an area of the country where there's just not a lot of opportunities and not a lot of well-educated folks. So literally in the warehouse I was working in, there were people who literally could not even write their own name. Like when there was time to sign their name, they would just write an X. And so, and so, you know, a lot of people in that warehouse are kind of, or not a lot of people. So the people that were in management positions in the warehouses, they kind of like worked themselves up from the forklift to management position. And here was I, some young buck that had graduated college. You know, they just think I'm fresh out of college. I was in the military for 5 years. But I was like, they just look at me as some young buck that was just fresh out of college.
Who could write his name?
Yeah, exactly. I spelled his name. And now he was in like this management position where people had been in the same warehouse for 15 years. So honestly, it was a little bit of jealousy. And so one day, it was like the end of the day, and somebody one of the workers in the warehouse, he was a supervisor. He was like under me, but he was one of the people that, you know, kind of came up. And so he'd been there like 10 years. So I think he was a little bit jealous of me too. And so he said something to me. I can't remember what he said to me, but I was like, man, it got me a little bit heated. And so I was like, I know I have a little bit of a temper. I'm either at a 0 or like at 100. I don't really have in between. So I was like, man, I'm going to fight this dude. I know it's about to happen. And so I was like, I know what I need to do. I'm like, just to calm myself down, I'm going to call one of my coworkers, like one of my peers. And so I called the guy and was like, man, and it was like one of his workers. I was like, man, you need to get your guy, blah, blah, blah. Like he keeps talking, like I was like, I'm going to knock him out or stuff like this. And then but you know, just venting to a coworker, trying to alleviate the situation, trying to calm myself down. And so, but this dude, instead of being like, hey, this is another coworker, you know, he did the right thing, calling me. What he did was he went to the manager and was like, hey, one of our employees just threatened another guy. Like I didn't say anything to the actual dude. I just said the thing to him. But he's like, oh, he drummed up this whole thing about, hey, he's threatening another employee and blah blah blah. And I was just like,
oh wow,
like you loser. So my manager was cool. Like, hey man, you know it's two sides of the story, but you got the manager who was kind of engaging a little bit hyperbole. You got the other worker supervisor who had these two stories. Then it was me, and so he's like, hey, you can either kind of I'm gonna give you the opportunity to quit, or you can be like fired. And so I was like, what do I want to do here? Let me just leave the job. Like it's not even that important. I'm just going to leave, and I'm just like, hey, I'll see what else is out there. And so once again, I was in Memphis. I knew nobody in the whole state of Tennessee. Like my whole family's back in DC, and so I just quit the job. And I was like, man, I don't got a job right now. What am I going to do? And so I was like unemployed for like four or so months. But here's an important lesson, everybody out there, especially when you're young and in your 20s and you can do it. Always live super cheaply. Like one smart thing I did was I got the cheapest apartment in the area I could find. It was like $650 was my apartment. So like I had money saved up. I ate at Little Caesars every day, $5 pizza. That was my meal. So I spent $5 a day on food. I ate Little Caesars Monday through Friday for like 4 months. And so I eventually got a logistics job with JB Hunt here in Dallas. And so everything went cool. I worked at that company for like 4 years. I worked my way up from like a small account with 4 trucks in Mineola, Texas, about 90 minutes east of Dallas, up into an account that was managing all the Jack in the Boxes, like in Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico, and some in Louisiana. So from like 4 trucks to like 120 trucks. And then I was at a certain point where I was just like, I guess this is cool, but there's some other stuff out there. And so I was like, I want a new job. And then so I went to my school hosts a job fair every once a quarter. And so I went to the job fair. I submitted my application to the job fair. And so the job fair is on Saturday. If a company really likes you, they'll try to invite you to this recruitment party on Friday. So you don't even go to the job fair. They can just sign you there. And so one of the companies, a couple companies reached out to me. Amazon was one of them. Everybody knows Amazon. So I was like, oh, Amazon, that'd be cool to work for them. And so they're like, yeah, come to our Friday night, or not party, but recruitment fair. And so when they try to sign this, you don't go to
the visual I get when you say like party for Amazon is probably nothing like how it was, but.
Well, I'll get to how that party was, because I did not even see what the party looked like. I guess it's a clandestine party. And so this other party this other company that called me was a mortgage company. I was like, I had no interest. Like I'm a super, believe it or not, like a super introvert. I'm not into sales, but I love real estate. I love financing, or I love like econ and numbers, and I love education. So I was like, I'm gonna go to Amazon, not this real estate company. But that Friday night, I went to the hotel for the Amazon party, and it was like a big hotel, and there were like no signs. Like I could not find this party. Like I walked around the hotel, like I just kept walking around, like I couldn't find it. And so I kept walking by the mortgage thing. I just kept walking by the door, and I was just like, okay, I'm here. Let me go see what this mortgage company's talking about. And I walked in there, and I was like, man, this is a pretty cool job. And then so that's how I got into the mortgage industry. Is I literally could not find the Amazon recruitment party, and I just got
lost.
Yeah, I just fell into the industry literally. So I guess, as they say, the rest is history. So, but yeah, just literally by accident is how I got into the industry.
So how many years ago was that?
So 6 years, something like that. Yeah, 6 years, I think.
And at what point did you birth this Coins and Culture brand? Obviously, those two, that's connected to your experience in mortgage underwriting.
Yeah, and so I kind of had a brand before this, and so one thing with let me jump into my mortgage career. So I started my first job. I was there for like 4 months, and then I was trying to get a mortgage with my own company, and so my wife was trying to call and do something, and my manager just said something. He wasn't trying to be disrespectful, but he was disrespectful, and so I was like, all right, so I need to get a new job, because I can't be at this company where the manager was talking slick to my wife. He generally, I think he was busy, but he just said the wrong thing. And so I was like, oh, let me find another company. And then so this whole time, like Wells Fargo had been reaching out to me just via LinkedIn to try to recruit me. And so I was like, okay, let me go check out Wells Fargo. Literally the 3 days after I came on, so you can kind of date how long I've been in the industry. So yeah, about 6 years. 3 days after I signed on with Wells Fargo is when that whole thing broke about them with the fake accounts and all that, which I think was about 6 years ago. And so I was like, man, what timing? Like my first time.
What timing?
Is like with all this bad news comes out. And so like being a loan officer is like a sales job. And so you're trying to call people and they hear Wells Fargo and it's just like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want my clients doing this and that. And so at that point in time, it kind of dawned on me, is like, I got to separate myself from the company. Like I got to build my own company, because I can't be responsible for some random people are doing in California, making fake accounts. They got nothing to do with me. If people just hear Wells Fargo, they don't hear my name. So I was like, I need to start branding myself. And then two, one thing a lot of loan officers get trapped in is when someone thinks of buying a home, they think of, let me call a realtor. Very rarely does someone think of, let me call a loan officer. So realtors are like the funnel for the mortgage process. So I was like, I need to flip this funnel around and they have to come to me. How can I do that? And so I developed this interview show on Facebook. It was called Drew Television. It was Dallas Real Estate Entrepreneurship and whatever else, that was the W, was the name of this show I used to do on Facebook. And so it was very clever.
That's super cool though.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tip my cap to myself as it was a very clever idea. Because
what I would
do, it was easier for me to reach out to realtors, because I'd be like, hey, could you come on my real estate show and I get to interview you and talk about how great you are. And then I post it on Facebook. And then I tag you on Facebook. And then so that was like a way for me to build my brand. And I did that for like 6 months. It was like very grueling, because this is before like Zoom and all that. So I would actually have to go out and travel and like actually drive and meet these people. It took up a lot of time, but it helped me kind of build my name and make connections. So that's kind of the first time where I was like, hey, I need to start branding myself. And then part two was during the pandemic. You know, just kind of like sitting around was like there's not much to do. So at that point, I got off Facebook. Like I'm not on social media at all. Like I use social media for what I needed to use it for, and so I didn't really have. I had a Facebook, but it's dead. I wasn't on Instagram. I wasn't on no social media, and so you know, you work from home during the pandemic, and I'm just like, okay, let me get on Instagram and see what's going on. And so I'm just kind of scrolling through Instagram, and so you know, Instagram, you know, they listen to you and all that, so you kind of find stuff that you're into. So I would come across all this real estate stuff, and I would be like, man, that's not right. Like, that's not correct either. Like that's a little bit fluff. I don't think that's right. So I was seeing all this incorrect stuff online, and people like a lot of following. It's like this is not correct at all. And so I was just like, hey, let me start putting out some content that's correct. And so you probably would think, hey, I thought to myself, I should put out real estate content. But no, for some reason, I came upon the idea, let me become one of these finance guru too. Let me just start putting out stock market. I don't know what's going on in my brain, but I was like, let me start putting out stock market tips and all this stuff that has nothing to do with my industry. Just kind of like so I was doing the exact same thing to people that didn't know about real estate, who were putting out real estate topics. I started doing that exact same thing for some reason with finance. I don't know like what was going on. And so
yeah, I come across that stuff all the time, and I almost get jealous of those people because they're not licensed. Like if I were to post something that's incorrect like that, I could get in so much trouble. But here's Bob Schmo and Billy Joe posting crazy shit about infinite banking that they have no fucking idea about. And I'm like, bitch, shut up. Like you're going to get people in trouble. Like, thank you for sticking to mortgage underwriting.
Yeah, so it's funny. I had a conversation about that in the comment section with somebody the other day, and I posted something, and somebody, I can't remember exactly what the guy said, but he was like, something about most of these lenders. It wasn't a shot at me. He was talking in general. He's like, most of these lenders don't know what they're talking about, or they're not as. Because in the video I referred to realtors as like subject matter experts when it comes to real estate. And so he was like, oh, most of these people don't know what they're talking about. I was like, they may not, but the difference between them and you know gurus is that like you said, if they put out something wrong, they're held accountable for putting out misinformation. Mm-hmm. If just a random dude that you know works at not dissing anybody's profession, but that just works at Target, like a manager at Target, is putting out mortgage information and they're wrong, who cares? But
there's no consequence.
Yeah. So that's why these people at least have to be right or make their best effort to be right is the biggest difference there. And so I was putting out this generic finance stuff, and then one day I was like, why didn't I post something related to my industry? Like it just dawned on me like a month and a half later. So I was putting out. So at that point I was getting maybe like 10 to 15 likes per post. And I remember the almost the exact post. So the post was, what did the post say? The post said, okay, I forget. I'll paraphrase the post. It basically said that you look. What did the post say? Okay, I'm sorry.
You got to remember these types of things. It's your first content relevant post. It's like your first dollar bill.
I can't remember what the post said. It said essentially, oh, here we go. It said your $475 BMW payment is the reason you can't afford the home of your dreams, but you look fly driving back to your apartment though. And then so I broke down the underwriting process in like the next 4 slides. So that post got like 300 likes. One, because I think I was a little sassy, for lack of a better term.
A little sassy.
It was that, but it was like there was actual content stuff for folks to break down. And so, and honestly, it was a genuine post. The reason I knew that exact payment is because I had a BMW 328i that was $495. And so while I was in an apartment, luckily I had no other debt besides the BMW, and so I was able to get the home. And in hindsight, that could have killed like my me buying a home when I moved here to Dallas, because I had no idea how that mortgage process worked. I had no idea what my DTI was or anything like that. But that post came from a genuine place, because it was about me, except for the fact that actually I did purchase a home. Luckily, it didn't impact my DTI. And so that post got a lot of likes. So I was like, what do you know? If you post stuff that you know about, it kind of gets traction. And
I think that's a really important point, because there's so much pressure to, especially when, like you said, Instagram hears us, so it shows us the content that we're visiting, and sometimes that content has nothing to do with what we do. The best advice I give to I have a lot of clients that have these 9-to-5 jobs, but they're really talented at something else and they're doing it as their hobby, and I'm constantly pushing. I'm like, okay, instead of saving for retirement or investing for retirement, why don't we invest for you to quit your job and turn this into a business? But the biggest thing that they fall pressure in, mainly when we start building that brand, right, while they're still working their 9-to-5, so they have, a lot of their marketing already done by the time they leave, is stay in your own goddamn lane.
Yes.
Like, stop trying to copy everything you see on the Explore page. You're good at something. Find a way to create content around that. I sometimes feel the pressure too, because there's so many financial gurus, and sometimes their niches, the NFT market or crypto market, and I'll be like, well, maybe I should post more about that, but why?
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. Coins and culture, though, specifically, what does that mean?
So, it's a long, drawn-out story. And so I'm going to fast forward to the part where I was like, I should start posting about a bunch of mortgage stuff. And so previously, my handle was like 2-hour lunch break. The reason for that was because I literally would take a 2-hour lunch break during work, or like a 90-minute lunch break, but 90-minute lunch break didn't have a ring to it. But no one really knew what that meant. Not that anyone knows what coins and culture meant either. But I was like, I'm going to make this transition from this generic page to this mortgage page. I was like, I need a cool, catchy name, and I liked. I think the term was alliteration, where you use the same letters twice. And so I was trying to think of names. So I was like mortgage. I was like mortgage man or something like that. Money and mortgage. I think was like, money and mortgage was like. I was like, huh? Because I was like, I don't want to pigeonhole myself into talking just about mortgages. I wasn't ready to full commit. I was like, mortgages and money. Man, it's another name. And I was like, coins and culture. And I was like, I think that's it. I want to talk about money. And I just want to talk about the culture. And so, if you go back, no one's gonna do this, but if you go back all the way to like a year and a half ago, at the beginning of my page, what I used to do is I would post a quote, like a rap lyric or something like that, and then the next post would be an informational post related to that lyric. And so that's where the original concept of the page came from. And so, and eventually I realized that I like the quotes like more than everybody else. And so like the other posts were the ones that would get likes. The quotes was like, because, and once again, trying to be like other people, I was like, let me post a bunch of motivational quotes. And so, but instead just use lyrics. So I was trying to be something that I'd seen someone else do. And so like the informational content is just really what took place, or what kind of took off. And so it was kind of like a generic name because I wasn't fully ready to commit, but I just thought it had a cool ring to it, essentially.
No, I like it. It's catchy. I'll probably never call you Dave. I'm just gonna keep calling you Coins and Culture.
All right.
Because that's how it works.
Yeah, that's essentially how it came from. Was just trying to find a cool name.
I love it. Why don't you take a moment and describe exactly to people who don't know what underwriting is? Give them the 30-second summary of what you do.
Man, I'm long-winded, but I'll try to keep it under 30 seconds. So
I won't time you, but
all right. So essentially, what an underwriter does is it seems pretty basic, but they approve your loan by evaluating your credit worthiness, your ability to repay debts. They make sure you have the money to purchase a home, and they evaluate the collateral. And so, real quick, a lot of times people think that like your loan officer or your lender is the one that helps approve the loan. They have no say on approval or denial of the loan. For approval or denial, it's super important. They can't deny your loan either. Your loan officer cannot deny your loan. Only an underwriter can, but your underwriter essentially approves or denies your loan by evaluating some things about your credit, money, and the collateral.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. I've actually never gone through that process. I'm not against it. I've just never had to do it.
Okay.
Have you had a mortgage yet? Do you have a mortgage?
Yeah.
Do you get to approve your own? That can't be right.
No, there's no way. There'll be all sorts of compliance stuff. But yeah, you can't approve your own loan. You can't even pull your own credit. But yeah, I've had 1, 2, 3. I've had 4 mortgages, and so another thing where I was like, I can do a good job in this industry is because before I became a loan officer and then an underwriter, I had 2 mortgages, but I had no idea how the mortgage process worked or anything. Like I said, I didn't know my credit, or I knew my credit for one of those. I didn't know detail. I didn't know anything about the home buying process, and I was like, if I could do basic education to the person, follow up them, take care of them, guide them through the loan process, I could probably do pretty good. Because like I said, I have two loans, and I couldn't even remember my loan officer's name or any conversation. It was just like an email here, email there, and it was just like kind of figure out. Luckily, I had I think I was like sort of like a dream client because I had like good credit and all that. So maybe they didn't feel they needed to interact with me. But yeah, I was like, I had no idea how the loan process worked at all, even though I've been through the process twice. So I was like, hey, if I can help educate folks, I can probably do good in this business.
What's one way that the average person like me is underutilizing the relationship with you? Give me a scenario.
The relationship with me personally, or me an underwriter? What are you saying?
As an underwriter.
So the average person should have will have no relationship with an underwriter at all, and the reason for that is because the underwriter's job is not to talk to the homeowner and get their feelings. They're just looking at the guidelines. Does this loan fit the guidelines? Yes or no. That's the underwriter's sole job. And so it's just like a robot basically. And so this is where like your loan officer comes in. So your loan officer's job is to interpret the lending guidelines and to help when possible frame your story to the underwriter. So again, the underwriter's job is just to look at the file and say, hey, this credit works. This is what I see in the credit profile. Thumbs up, thumbs down. And 90% of the time it's straightforward. But in that 10% area is where your loan officer needs to frame your profile so that the underwriter, so they're not leaving up to the interpretation of the underwriter. Because once it gets to the underwriter and they say, hey, this is what I think, it's hard to change the underwriter's mind because they're basing their opinion off of guidelines. But if the loan officer pitches a questionable file to the underwriter, you're going to kind of default to what the loan officer says. Because like I said, as an underwriter, you don't care either way. So you're not trying to formulate a real hard stance if it's a gray area file. So you'll probably take what the loan officer says at face value. So I would say make sure that you're communicating with your loan officer, being truthful, and interviewing your loan officer so that you know that they know what they're talking about. So if we get into one of those gray area situations, they can help guide you through the process.
Is a loan officer typically employed by the same person that the underwriter is employed by, or is it two different entities? Yeah,
it is. So let's just walk through the mortgage process. And so when the front end of the process for mortgage lending is the loan officer. The loan officer is a salesperson. Their job is to say, hey, our company is so great, because you can get a mortgage anywhere, but their job is to say, hey, I'm so great, I'm gonna take care of you. Our company is so great, we're gonna do the best value. We have the fastest turn times, the best rates, blah, blah, blah. Their job is to pitch you on why their company is so great, and that they can close your loan on time, so that you select. And I'm just gonna say, just Chase is they're a big company, everyone knows Chase. Their job is to say why Chase is so good and why they can get you the best loan and close your loan at Chase. And so your loan officer is a salesperson. What they should also know, but most of them don't know, just to be honest with you, is they should have a very good understanding of the mortgage guidelines, because they need to look at your file and say, one, maybe we need to work on this or that here, or two, we need to frame this loan a little bit better to pitch to the underwriter, or maybe this is a better loan program for you based on the mortgage guidelines. So that's your loan officer's job, is to basically say, hey, this is your to get you to go with them. They do an initial evaluation, and they'll give you what's called like a pre-approval letter. They're saying that, hey, this person is credit worthy based on what I've seen. They run it through like an automated system, and then say, hey, this person can qualify for up to a $300,000 loan. And so and then you go out, you shop for a home, you give the seller this letter to say, hey, I'm approved for up to $300,000, so I can purchase your $300,000 home. And so that's what your loan officer does. And then so once you're under contract, once again, because your loan officer cannot approve or deny a loan, once you're under contract, that's when you go to underwriting. And so your underwriter's job is to evaluate your credit to make sure you meet all the basic credit line guidelines and the lender's credit guidelines. They're there to make sure that you have enough money to purchase the home and that your money is coming from a savory source. They're there to make sure that you can pay back the loan, which is called looking at your debt to income ratio, your DTI. And they're there to evaluate the collateral, which is the property, to make sure that they don't do the appraisal, but they're evaluating the appraisal to make sure that this is a property that is lendable. And they're also making sure they evaluate the title report to make sure that there's no legal issues with the title. I always kind of give this example here. And it's a thorough process. So I always say to folks when they whine about paperwork, I say, hey, if a stranger came up to you and asked to borrow $300, would you say yes or no? You probably say no. But if you were to loan them $300,000, imagine how much paperwork and how much documentation you would need from that stranger in order to lend them $300. Now take that $300, put a comma behind it, and add 3 more zeros. We're at $300,000. So imagine how much research are you that the mortgage lender and the underwriter is going to do as far as making sure that you're creditworthy. So that's what the underwriter does. They dig into everything to make sure that you can pay back the loan. Believe it or not, a lot of folks think banks are big and evil, but the bank doesn't want to foreclose your home. They just want to sit back and collect the passive income.
I don't think banks are big and evil. I just think that our education system on educating people on this process, just like we're talking about, has failed time and time again.
Yeah, you don't learn about this until you apply for a mortgage. You still don't learn about it.
I'm still confused about it. So the underwriter so using your example with Chase Bank, loan officer, salesperson, not held to any specific standard, is not necessarily like, how does it end on your desk? Do you have an existing relationship with that loan officer or Chase Bank?
Sorry, I skipped that original question. The whole team works at the same company. So if you apply with Chase, you're with a Chase loan officer, they get the file, they submit the underwriting, it goes through underwriting with Chase, it goes to closing at Chase. Okay. So whatever company you're with, the loan goes through the pipeline with that company. Essentially, did I answer the question? Sorry.
No, yeah, you did. So I guess I'm curious, Dave, how do you turn that into an entrepreneurial business model, right? How do you, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner does that even exist, an underwriting business that's a solo practitioner?
So I think so. So you can't, to my knowledge, you can't be like a freelance underwriter. You have to work for some sort of company, because there has to be some sort of like continuity between the businesses, and it's hard. So the thing about underwriting is that there's regular guidelines. So if you get like a conventional loan, there's basic. No, let's go with FHA. So with the FHA loan, there are basic FHA guidelines. So the FHA guidelines, let's talk about credit. FHA guidelines say that, hey, with a 500 credit score, if you put 10% down, you get an FHA loan. With the 580 credit score, you put down 3.5%, you get an FHA loan. Those are what the FHA guidelines say. So every lender has to apply by those basic FHA guidelines. But a 500 credit score is a super low credit score. Something's gone wrong if you got a 500 credit score. And so lenders are typically like, hey, we're not going that low. We're going to put overlays or additional guidelines on top of whatever the FHA says. So the FHA says these are the minimum, but us at Chase, for example, we're going to say, we're not going to let you go down to 500 to 580. We're going to say that we're only going to allow you to go down to a 640. And we're going to put additional guidelines on top of whatever the FHA says. And so you have to know that specific lender's guidelines. So I feel like you have to be very, very smart to know the specific guidelines for each lender. Because the underwriter's job is to know the guidelines. I mean, they have to know the guidelines better than anybody else at the company. And to know the mortgage guidelines for a bunch of different lenders all at once seems like it'd be a very, very daunting task. Job. Yeah, and so for me, my personal situation as far as kind of like building my brand and branding myself. So at the beginning I think I said this, I'm like a super introvert. Like I'm not into to sell.
I really have a hard time believing that, because you literally posted about, I'm going to go on 50 podcasts this year. And now you're sitting here saying you're an introvert. Like, what? You have a whole brand.
Yeah, I am, but I like mortgages. Like, that's one of the, like I said, that's the only sales job I could ever be into, just because I like talking about the mortgage process for whatever reason. And so like I said, I used to be a loan officer, but like I said, I just hate, like I said, I just hated talking to people so much. I was just like, after like 4 or 5 years, I was just like, man, this is like getting annoying. And it's like, people, it's the biggest financial decision in people's lives, I understand, but people will call you like on Saturdays, Sundays at 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. about stuff that could clearly wait till the next morning. And I was just like, man. And so my wife was always like, man, you're a pretty smart guy. You know, like you want the people that are actually digging the guidelines. You understand guidelines and all this stuff. You're great with numbers. Why don't you look at underwriting? She talked to me about that for like a solid year. And then about a year and a half ago, I was just like, yeah, why don't I do that? And so with COVID and all that, there were a bunch of work from home jobs, and so I applied to underwriting. Luckily, I got accepted. It's hard to even get accepted to an underwriting job with no experience. Some of those jobs was like, how do you even get in? Because you have to have like experience, but people don't want to hire anybody without experience. But it ended up, luckily, this company picked up the phone and was like, hey, you got a lot of loan officer experience, but we'll see what's what. And they interviewed me. They gave me some tests, and she was like, "Wow, we didn't think this would work." But I passed all the tests and guidelines and all that, and so I became an underwriter. And so, but ironically, since I've built my brand now, the way to make the most money off of it would be if I went back to a loan officer, because on average, like you probably make like $3,000 off of each loan. And so I got people that hit me up all the time, like, hey, can you do a loan for me? And
can you do both?
No, so no, you can't, because you have to like be. It's like you have to be evaluating the file. So you can't, like I said, the underwriter just like in a cell by themselves. They might as well just be in like a closet, just looking at numbers and all that. And so their job isn't to do anything, to have any communication with the actual person buying the home, for a bunch of reasons. It's just to, hey,
you should be thrilled.
What's that?
You should be thrilled as an introvert.
Yeah, I am. So it's great. Like I wake up at like 6 o'clock. I do some stuff in the morning. I start my day at 7 o'clock, and I'm done by like 4:30, 3 o'clock. Just because I get to kind of work my own schedule. Like, as long as you get your files done, it's all good. So I don't talk to any. I mean, we have like a monthly call on Monday, but I don't talk to anyone at work. I don't even know my manager's phone number. I've never got a call from anybody at work. Like, I don't know anyone's number at work.
You're like so happy about this. Like, my extroverted soul is dying inside.
Yeah, to the point that I actually had an emergency where I needed to miss work on Monday, and I didn't even know who to tell. To call. And so I hopped on Slack and I sent them a message, but I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be at work on Monday, sorry. But yeah, I don't know anyone's number at work, so I just kind of do my own thing.
Well, that's good to know for introverts that are watching but are fascinated with this process. I mean, obviously we're going to tag all of your social media, but this sounds like a dream for a number-oriented, introverted person. I mean, he compared it to just working in a dark closet. If that sounds fun to you, here you have it. I know this was long-winded, but I'm truly curious about this process, because the closest thing I've ever had to a major loan for purchasing a house is we did a securities-based line of credit on our investments that are in the stock market. And that is, it's collateralized, which technically I guess so is a mortgage, but the process is like 2 weeks. They don't run a formal credit check. It was just like, it was a lot simpler, but that's not available to the average person, because you have to have about $750,000 in investable assets to qualify for that, which is unfair, because that's literally how the rich stay rich. But this process is so undereducated that it's blows my mind. But that's why we're long-winded in the intro, guys. I apologize. I am curious on what your first failure is that you're willing to share with everyone.
Yeah, so, well, I don't know, my first failure ever, but I'd say the one...
No, not your first failure ever. The one that was most impactful, whether it's personal or professional.
So I'd say for me, it was a professional and personal failure. And so this was like my, so I kind of jumped through my mortgage career, but I started at a small mortgage company. I was at Wells Fargo. And so I was in the company for a year. And so I ended up actually getting, I guess you would say fired or let go from that job, due to I say performance. It was performance that was outside of my control, but it was due to performance. And so, now still it was outside of my control because, my manager, he kind of talks to me, he's like, reluctantly we have to do this something with the numbers. And so I've been doing like a good job. Like, so I was kind of building my brand, and calling folks. And, basically what happened was like, the first 6 months I essentially did like nothing. It started off slow. I didn't have a branch. I was doing all stuff on my own. And like the last 6 months, I kind of picked up to where I was well above where I needed to be, or well above the average loan officer. But I couldn't make up that 6 month deficit. They look back at a year, and they do their stuff weird at Wells Fargo. It's like over the course of the year. So I was like in a hole. And so it was kind of a shock to me because I was like, I knew I was like in the hole, but I was like, the last 6 months I've been kind of like killing it. So I thought it was all good. And so
I've been killing it.
yeah, so maybe I wasn't killing it. I was doing all right. And so the manager called me and was like, hey, we have to, like, we kind of have to let you go. And I was like, oh man, that sucks for me. And so, but he was like, hey, I can, if you still, I like your mock or something going like that. And he was like, there was a lending manager that was previously at Wells Fargo that had gone. This is why I'm mentioning like the Chase, because I used to work at Chase. That he's now works at Chase. I can give you his number, and I will give you a recommendation to go work with him if you want to. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. But I was fired still. And so I came. I think I was married. Yeah, I was married at the time. So
How old were you?
Home. What's that?
How old were you?
So 6 years ago, 29ish, I guess. Yeah, sounds about right. And then so it was just super embarrassing. And I was like, should I tell my wife I just got fired? I was like, nah, I'm gonna have this job in about 3 weeks anyways. Nah, she was like, oh, she usually goes to work before me, gets home after me anyways. I think I can just play this off until I get a new job. And so essentially like for 2 solid weeks, I just lied. Yeah, and I say lie, and admission of the truth is a lie. Essentially, lied to my wife because I didn't go to work for 2 straight weeks, and I was like, my only job was to get to the mailbox before she got home to make sure I was getting.
I'm amazed you got away with that for that long.
Here we go. So, unfortunately, my wife is like so she works in benefits, and so stuff that was coming in the mail that I had no idea what it was, she knew what it was. So like people may know about Cobra. I had no idea what Cobra was, but I had gotten the documents from Wells Fargo. They were like, hey, you've been let go. I got all the firing paperwork, I thought. And so she came to the house one day and was like, I can't remember exactly what she said, but it was one of those things where it was like, I know you don't work there anymore, but I want to hear you tell me. I can't remember exactly how she said it to me, and I was like, I kind of danced around. No, so I sort of was, but like I said, I was more embarrassed that I didn't have a job. Because you're supposed to be the provider of the house, as as a man, you're supposed to provide and all this, and so I was just super embarrassed. And so I told my wife, I was like, I got fired about 2 weeks ago, and she of course she was upset, but like her reaction to me was like everything, because she was like what happened. And then so I kind of told her what happened and what the situation was, and like her reaction, her reaction was like I said, it was everything to me. She basically said to me, was like, hey, I can't hold you at fault for something that was outside of your control. If you got fired for stealing, if you got, maybe feel back in the day, if I got fired for punching an employee in the face, like I was did back in the day, if you got fired for that, stealing or something like that, yeah, I would be upset with you. I'd be pissed. You lied to me the last couple weeks, so we'll handle that. But she was just so like understanding, and so we'd been married at that point for I think about a year, and so
Ooh, a baby marriage.
What's that?
It's a baby marriage.
Yeah. So it's like at that point your marriage where it's like, hey, everything's cool, but you never know even whether it's a friend or a wife, hopefully you're friends with your wife or your spouse, whatever your scenario is. You never really know how things are going to go until something actually goes wrong. And so with every relationship, I mean, there's certain deal breakers. Like to me, like cheating is a deal breaker for us and not for some people.
Mm-hmm.
But but and lying typically is, I guess it could be a deal breaker too. And so like I didn't at that point, like I was super embarrassed. I didn't know where our marriage was going to go from that point. And like there was just a lot of stuff going on. And like her reaction, honestly, if it had been negative, it could have like broke me, because like I was just in this horrible mental state. Like I said, you're lying to your wife for like 2 straight weeks. Like it kind of wears on you, and just like you're coming home house working, you're making up like a lie again, and it was just
you're living. It turns into a lifestyle at that point.
Yeah, and it was just wearing on me mentally. And I think like I'm glad she found out, because like even if because I mean at a certain point, I had got the job and I had been accepted for the new job before she found out. But like, I'm glad she found out, just from a transparency standpoint. Like, I know I would have felt like horrible with that, this 3-week window where I was like lying to my wife. And then also it just showed me how great of a woman and a person she would. Because like I said, if she'd have been justified for reacting super negatively, one just for the lying part. I mean, she'd been super justified in reacting super negatively. And like I said, it could have broke me. I don't know where things would have went in our relationship between then. Because like I said, I was 100% in the wrong. But luckily, she reacted in a super positive way. And I think that made our relationship even stronger. Like I said, I felt that I could tell her. Clearly, I didn't think I could tell her anything, because I didn't tell her I got let go from my job. But I felt like for the most part, like I could have pretty open conversations with her about what's going on, and like I had to find out about it that way. But like I know like she has my back 100%. Like if I'm doing the right thing and the wrong thing happens, that's what happens. But like I said, she can't be mad at me for something that was kind of out of my control. See, that was my big failure. Was like I said, I just kind of lied to my wife for 3 straight weeks about my employment, and like luckily this is all on her. Luckily she reacted the way she did, which helped us along the way. So.
Well, I think that's an important point, especially I'm happy we're talking about this now as we head into just in your industry in general, my industry as well, as we head into this pre-bear market beginning of a recession. Looking back at that time, because part of this podcast is how do we give back to a community? How do we help other people learn from your fuck up? People are about to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of it. We're going into a I struggle with that word, a contraction market.
Yeah.
People are going to start losing their jobs, especially in our industries. And this same scenario could easily play itself out. Looking back, how do you think you should have handled this differently?
Oh, I honestly should just come home and told my wife what happened. I mean, like I said, my.
But it's not that easy, Dave, because you're, like you said, you're a man, you're a provider. There's ego involved here.
But yes, but like sometimes you just gotta rip the Band-Aid off and just say what happened. So I give this example, like back when I was a loan officer. So you got to deliver bad advice to folks. So like when someone was applying for a loan, I never gave them the, hey, how you doing? How's it going? The wind up. I would literally just call them and be like, as soon as they answer the phone, I'd be like, hey, unfortunately, your loan was declined. I would just put it right out there. Because one thing I hate is when you can tell bad news is coming, but somebody's dancing and they don't want to say it. And it's, the longer you wait to say it, the least likely you are to actually say it. So I think that's kind of what happened. Was like, I was like, hey, maybe I should tell her. And it's like, I'll tell her tomorrow. Then it's like, it's Monday, it's Wednesday. I just tell her at the beginning of the week. Maybe I tell her on Friday. That's when people get fired, usually on Fridays. It's Friday. I'll tell her on Monday. And then it just spins like out of control. And so just, to me, it's just like, and I don't know why I didn't do it in that situation, but to me, bad news, you just gotta just put it out there. Like, just throw it out there. No, I don't know what I can say. No, lubricant. I just say just throw out the bad news out there. And,
I know, I like that one. That works.
And just say it. So and let the person react how they're going to react. You can't control how anybody else reacts to.
Had you not gotten that job offer from your previous manager, would you have stayed in this industry?
That is a great question.
I know.
I think probably, I think probably yeah. Because like I said, I generally enjoy like what I do. Because like I said, I'm super introverted, but I'm able to like talk about stuff. Like I don't know if you ever guys ever seen me on Instagram. Like I put out like videos like every week. Like I haven't even done like a static post. I don't think in like 3 or 4 months. I literally just put out videos and topics because I like talking. I like educating folks on the process. And so I think I would have. I don't know if folks with the industry would have had me because like you've been in the industry for 1 year and you've been fired. So I don't know how that would have looked on a resume. But yeah, I would have tried my best to stay in the industry just because I enjoy the exciting road of underwriting and mortgage guidelines.
I wanna go back to what you just said because I was talking to this with my tech guy before you got on, and we were looking at your Instagram, and I struggle just with how busy I am creating content of me talking. Like the one thing my marketing people keep telling me is you need more personal content. Like you need to be talking, not just like writing it and then having someone else put it together. How the fuck do you find the time to do that much shit?
So once you start doing it, it's not as time consuming as you think.
Bullshit.
So,
I spend way too much time doing it.
So you just got. So I think when I first started it, because you're trying to be perfect. You're just trying to like, hey,
Yeah.
put out this perfect blah blah blah. And so just start. And so I know this because I'm making the content, but if you look at any of my posts where I'm not using a green screen, where I'm just giving a scenario, I'm only saying 3 things in every single post. I'm saying something to do with your credit, something to do with your DTI, or something to do with funds for down payment. Every single post is about the exact same thing. I'm just literally saying it a different way. Just I'm saying something about the credit first, or I'm saying something about your money first. I'm saying the exact same thing, just in a different way. I mean, I think if I really were to break it down, I think I have 5 posts, but I say those 5 things like 10 different ways. And so that's one is you may be trying to think too hard, or I got to put out a 30 days worth of content. The other thing too is, if we go back to whoever the Google folks listening to whatever you have to say, and Zuckerberg and all them, and you start to see content that is based on your industry or what you talk about. So like my Google feed, for some reason Google feed has gone from just a blank white screen that says Google to all of a sudden there are news stories in there. I'm not sure when Google decided to make that transition, but I always see mortgage articles in my Google feed. So I'll click on the article and I don't even read them, to be honest with you. I'll just look at the headline and then I'll do a video responding to the headline. And so those do very well for a couple reasons, because I think what happens is one, like Instagram can somehow like scan the headline and they can tell and somehow they're able to link to the people that have actually like read the article, because I always get like the most.
Well, it's a Google image search. It's the same technology.
Yeah. So I always get like the most interaction. It seems like on those posts where I'm like just talking about something like an article, because I think it somehow shows it to people that have read the article, and they everyone has their opinion. I pretty much never read the articles that I'm talking about. I just point at the headline, and it does a couple things. One, the headline is the most important part of a story, because that engages people. So you already have a professionally rated headline or topic to your video, because I just point at it, and so that catches people's eyes. And then I just talk about the article, so those get the most engagement for whatever reason. Like my most viewed videos are just videos of me pointing at an article and then talking about it for 30 seconds. And honestly, I don't even ever read the article. Sometimes I'll say in the video I didn't even read the article. Sometimes I just start talking. But
Don't do that. Don't say you didn't read it. I mean, like, don't do that to yourself. And I don't think he's doing himself a disservice, because he might be saying similar things in each video, but each video, I mean, I personally have bookmarked several of your videos. Like it's still adding massive value, which is most important to me. I don't want to post something that isn't valuable to someone. And that's what I admire about your content, that it's, one, super fucking consistent. Like I'm envious at how consistent you are, but it always is knowledge. Like it straight up helps people.
Yo, thank you. And then here's another thing about just starting and putting out content. And so let's say you put out, so I used to do 3 videos a day. Now I do 2 videos a day because it became.
How does he do that? Like, do you hear him? I usually do 3 videos a day. Like,
but So here's the thing. So let's say there's 30 days in a month. Let's say you don't post that much. I don't know. Let's say you take Sundays off. So what is that? I don't know. Let's round to say that there's 50, 30. I don't know. Let's say you make 50 posts a month. Once you do that for 2 straight months, now you have 100 posts like in your arsenal. And so 10% of those posts typically will do very well. So now out of those 100 posts, you have 10 posts that do very, very, very well. And so I just post those videos again. Like every 2 or 3 months, I'll post like the same videos that hit. Like I have videos that I posted like 4 or 5. I posted like 4 or 5 times so far, and every time I post them, I know they're going to do numbers. And they do better and better each time. Because one, Instagram doesn't show you stuff to everybody, even your followers. So sometimes followers haven't seen your same followers have not, for whatever reason, didn't see the video, or they maybe saw it and they thought it was cool and they just like it again. I know some videos that I know that I post a lot. Some people will make the same general comments under them from the last time I posted them. So I was like, I know they remember the post. But once you kind of have that kitty, or there's this war chest of all these videos. Whenever you're tired and you can't think of a video to post, I'll just scroll back through my feed and I'll just find a post from like 2-3 months ago. I was like, oh, this did relatively well, and I'll just repost it again. And so
that's dope. That's good advice.
Yeah. So that's one of the benefits of just hunkering down, whatever the term is, for like a solid month and just putting out like 50 pieces of original content, is that you can just repost them again in 3 months. And if you do it for a year, now you have like a month worth of content that you can just repurpose, and it just the snowball thing, a compound interest, it just starts to build and build and build. You just got more and more content just to repurpose. And sometimes I'll shoot a similar video again, like I'll just do it in a different location. If it did very well, like from like 3 weeks ago, and I can't think of anything, I'll be like, I'm just going to reshoot that same video I did 3 weeks ago, and just have a different shirt on, or do it in a different location or something like that, and just rephrase it a little bit. But yeah, just starting is the hardest part. But once you get that stuff under your belt, it's
see, right there, you just got so passionate about that. Like that was cool to see. How important to your personal happiness, your personal utility, is the brand that you're working on right now, the content on Instagram and YouTube that you're doing right now?
So on a scale of 0 to my wife being the most important thing, being a 10, it's probably like a 9.8.
Damn.
And it's important to me because the more time I build this brand and am able to build the brand and make it into, hopefully, like a business, is the more time I can eventually step away from my actual job.
Yes.
And spend more time with my wife, because I think that's the reason we work in areas, to provide for our families. But we go to work and ironically spend 9 hours, 8 hours away from our family. Luckily, me and my wife both work from home. But back in the day, I was spending with traffic, I spend 10 hours away from my wife to make money so I can enjoy life with my wife, ironically. And so it's just more time to hang out with my family. So that's why I'm kind of dedicated or focused on kind of building the brand on Instagram. I got the podcast, got my YouTube going. I even started a cleaning business like a couple weeks ago.
You didn't.
So if you're in Dallas, hit me up. I can help you out.
We're in Houston. If you make that drive, you can head down to Houston.
Oh no, I'm not. I hire people to do that. So it's kind of like an Airbnb thing for the cleaner. So
it's super dope though. Like look at his merch. Show your merch. Like this is his hoodie.
Yeah.
Like how cool is that?
Yeah.
And then he's got the hat.
Yeah. Got some merch. My other thing is, like, if you're going to wear somebody, I don't know. I'm not big on brands, but if like I made a decision like about a year ago, which is like, if I'm going to wear something, it's going to be my brand or a blank T-shirt. And so I pretty much only wear like my clothing. This is a hoodie right now, so I do need to get some stuff for the summer.
Yeah, you're in Dallas. It's about to get hella hot.
Oh, it's hot right now.
Who do you use?
Like
who do you use for your merch?
I'm sweating right now.
I'm sweating too. It's all these lights.
So I do Printful. So it's cool because you don't need to have any inventory. but like they, it's like a print on demand thing. And so like if somebody orders a product, they print it for you. And so I mean they do everything, the printing, the warehousing, the shipping, and all that. So they do take a lion's share of the price. I think they take almost like 60, somewhere between 60.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, what's a lion's share?
Yeah, but it's just like the other option is for me to have a garage full of hoodies in a bunch of different sizes. I don't know when they're going to sell. I don't know how many they're going to sell. And so to me, that's a good way to start until you have like an established brand where you like know, hey, I know every November I'm going to sell 500 hoodies. So I know to order 300 larges, 100 mediums, 50. And so you get to that point. To me, it makes sense because you don't want to have a bunch of spend a bunch of money on hoodies that you don't even know they're going to sell. So
we're just giving them out at parties.
Yeah.
All right. I want you to describe who you are using 3 adjectives.
Entrepreneurial.
For sure.
Dedicated.
That didn't sound convincing at all. Dedicated.
That seemed kind of generic. Okay, let me throw it out the window. I think I'm ingenuitive. And I think I'm persistent. So yeah, let's go with those 3. Entrepreneurial. Did I say entrepreneurial? I don't know what I said first. But entrepreneurial, ingenuitive, and I forgot what I said. But let's say tenacious. Yeah.
Ooh, you just switched it.
I forgot what I said.
Well, they were synonyms. You said persistent and tenacious.
Yeah,
tenacious is one of my favorite words, so I'll go with that. Can people reach out to you? Are you cool with that, David?
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. My Instagram is Coins and Culture. The word coins, the letter N, the word culture, all one word. If you wanna schedule a consultation with me, you can click one in the bio. Do it ASAP because I keep meaning to raise the price of the consultation.
That is booking up
to the point that people don't book it. It's too low. Because like I said, I'm super introverted. It's weird. Like right before every consultation, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so nervous. And then, of course, nothing happens. It goes fine. But I don't know why I freak out before every consultation.
It's because you haven't done it enough yet. It's like this podcast. When I first started it, I was so nervous. But then now I don't even read the answers. Like I sat down and I printed down your questions. I was like, oh, by the way, a lot of spelling errors in how you answered these questions. I was like, wait, what? Like the question was, when people schedule to do the podcast, there's like 4 generic questions that like I'm going to loosely base the conversation around, which clearly we did not follow at all today. But it helps you guys sort through your thoughts. What made you choose the career path you're currently in?
Right.
David, Steven goes mortgage underwriting. What? I was like, okay, this is either going to go really well or really bad, but we're just going to wing it. But thank you so much for coming. It's really cool when I have people that don't know me personally come on because it's really just like, it's what's going to happen is what's going to happen. So I hope you had fun, and I'm glad you showed up.
Yeah, definitely. It was cool. And so hopefully this audio was fine. I didn't realize my microphone was behind my computer until
it wasn't terrible.
Okay, 15 minutes ago. My bad. But yeah, I appreciate it. So I had fun. It was a great interview. I had fun. I was just super nervous in front of the podcast. I get nervous all the time.
Well, you're doing like 2 a month, 3 a month, right?
Yeah. Actually, half an hour before this, I did a whole job discussion.
No, you didn't.
It's 8:40 local here, and I'm not even yet.
Okay, David, Steve.
I was like, that was a horrible scheduling by me. But, yeah, it's all good.
I'm gonna let you go eat, and I'll catch you on the gram, and I'll make sure to tag you and everything in this posting again. Thank you so much.
Okay, appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me.
And that's another episode of Failure Friday. So glad you guys could join us. We're going to make sure we tag all of Dave's stuff in the bio, as well as the beer that I'm drinking because it's delicious. And I hope to see you guys next week. Have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Thank you.